got another video for you guys, and I want to keep this one on topic. Make sure that I get the point of this across. The point is, sometimes we are attracted to a specific kind of oracle or deck or system or something. This happens a lot with people who they really like a specific deck, okay? And then they try to use it and they have a lot of difficulty with it, okay? And then they assume, in a lot of cases, that it's their own abilities, okay? In those cases, it may be that you're not resonating to the particular deck or system or whatever because you either don't have an affinity for it or because there's something in the deck itself that you're not compatible with. Okay, so you guys have heard me say before that every deck, every system, every deck, every oracle has a being that will speak through it to you, okay? In some cases, you just may not be compatible with the being. That's it. So you may find that you have a deck that you are attracted to and it's a friend's deck, and you start using it and you do great with it. So you go get your own copy of it and it doesn't work as well. Doesn't mean that you don't necessarily have ability, it just may mean that you are not compatible with the being in the deck, okay? Not many people will tell you this, no one really talks about this, but it's true. If you know how to get rid of the being in the deck, you can get rid of the being in the deck and get a new being in the deck. That's really advanced stuff. And it's really not for me to teach anyone how to do that, but there is, in the old world, old Tibetan teachings, old Tibetan trainings, stuff coming out of the East, stuff coming out of older traditions, individuals know how to interact directly with those beings and change who they are able to speak to. That is certainly not within the scope of this video. This video is really about letting you know that it may be, and this is something to consider, that you can't work with a specific deck because you are not compatible with the being, just like there are some people in the world that you're not compatible with and you don't work well with. So it may be that what's going on with the deck may not be a good partnership. And it's that simple. If that's the case, work with a deck or a set of stones or whatever you're using with which you do have a good partnership. Work with what gives you positive results. Don't beat your head against the wall against things that give you negative results. Likewise, with that in mind, there may be certain clients that you get, that you read for, that you seem to come up empty every time when you work for them. It may be one of a couple of things. It may be that the person is lying to you, that you're really seeing what's going on, but they're not willing to admit it. It may be that the individual is not aware of what's going on and you're seeing it and they're not. Or it may be that in some cases you may be trying to force something that isn't there. Okay. In the first two cases, it does you absolutely no good to blame yourself or to beat yourself up or to limit yourself about your abilities if the person is lying to you or not willing to admit what's going on. Okay. So I guess the theme of all of this is, in a lot of cases where we think that maybe we're not able to divine something or see through something, it may be that there are other things interfering. There is a lot more in heaven and earth than is spoken about in your philosophy, is that famous line from Hamlet, and I think that's a good one. There's a lot of things that are really very natural in the world that we have been told in the West are not natural, that we have been alienated from. Okay, so in these cases, what I'm suggesting is to get the most out of your divination and the most out of development of your skills, limit yourself from going for this deck and that deck and that deck and that deck, because in some cases you'll find that you're just not compatible with some of them. And if you start to convince yourself that, oh, I can't read this, I have no ability, then you're going to do yourself more damage in the long run. You're going to tell yourself that you don't have the ability, okay? Likewise, if you notice that there are certain people that you can't read, there may be a reason for it that has something else to do with them entirely. Now, there was a woman I used to always read, and when she'd come to me, I'd get nothing. I'd get absolutely nothing. I'd sit there and I'd look at this and I'd see absolutely nothing. After a while, I started to learn that the woman really had nothing going on in her life. It was the same thing over and over every day. She didn't do anything. She didn't take any risks. She mostly sat in front of the TV. And she ate a lot, and that was kind of the extent of her life. And she went to work, and she really never put herself in any position where anything would change. She wanted to know what was coming for her. It was always the same thing that came the day before. Okay, so until something happens with a big, large failing of her health, or someone in her life is affected in a huge way, she's likely to not get anything else in her reading that's different. Okay, so keeping it, let's sum up real fast. If you're not able to read a certain deck, it may be that there is a being in the deck that you are not compatible with and that it's not a good partnership. If you are reading for certain people and you find yourself limited, it may be that they're lying to you, that they really have nothing going on in their lives, or they're not aware of what you're seeing themselves, and it's all news to them. In time, that will come out. Don't automatically assume, especially if you have a great deal of success reading with some oracles, don't automatically assume that just because you can't read one situation or one set of cards or whatever it is, that you are a complete failure. Okay. Now, if you have any questions about this, go ahead, put them down in the below, and I'll try to answer best I can. I will not answer questions about how to get a being out of the deck. Like I said, that is stuff that was taught by teachers to their students through a lineage, and you have to have a lineage and a teacher who could teach you how to do that before you could ever think to get something out of a deck and put a new one in. Okay, that is beyond the scope of any of this. Also, I am not going to answer any questions about mediumism or talking to people's dead relatives, because I think that's a whole kettle of fish that opens up stuff that leaves people kind of vulnerable. And I am of the belief that simply because someone died does not mean that they are wiser than when they were alive. So I don't necessarily trust information I get from things that claim to be someone's dead relative. Okay? So, if you have any questions about anything else we've discussed in this, I'll do my best to answer it. Put them in the comments below, and you guys have a great week and happy Sunday.